there were probably 2 or 3 other couples in there. And one of them starts talking about how, like, this is pretty hot and heavy. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, he's like, hey, do you know I played baseball in college? And everybody just starts cracking up. Like,
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from across the entire spectrum of non-monogamy to hear their fascinating stories. We always strive to bring guests on the show who have a healthy and positive approach to non-monogamy.
However, everyone approaches this a little different, and at its core, our show is about hearing and learning from the different experiences and approaches people have. With that in mind, it's important to remember that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect those of our own.
It's also important to remember that we aren't doctors or therapists and that we produce this show for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on this show.
One final thing that we need to let you know about is that this podcast will hopefully include some explicit language. So, if that kind of thing offends you, we suggest you just keep listening until it no longer does. However, if you're under the age of 18, you should probably stop listening or gather up your parents and listen as a family. Enjoy! Hola!
Welcome. That's not how we start.
That's how I start.
Welcome to episode 51. We're Finn and Emma.
Yeah, 50 seems like so long ago.
Now we're one past that.
On our way to 100.
Yes.
Almost there.
Today we have an interview with Anne and Brian, and they're a couple that is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, they're fairly new to the whole non-monogamy thing. However, as you'll see, they've made it pretty far into their journey, and then they're basically just learning about themselves, learning about their relationship, and I don't know. If you listen to it and you don't feel the compersion kind of coming through your earbuds, there's something wrong with your earbuds.
Yes.
The other quick thing I wanted to mention about this is there are some subtle chicken noises. We did record this when we were living in Chile at a farm.
So there were chickens.
So it's soothing.
Yes. Sorry, but we couldn't help it.
Real quick, before we jump into it, we wanted to throw 2 resources at you that we love and use. The first one, use it every day. It's free. We've told you about it, but we're going to tell you one more time.
Personal Capital.
Personal Capital. Use the links on the website. Go check it out.
It's a budgeting website.
Yeah, it's budgeting, money tracking, and it's free as free can be. And if you use the links and use the website, it helps the show. So thank you for that in advance.
Yes.
The other one is the stdcheck.com, where you can win a $50 gift card.
Yes, by entering the contest on our webpage. So go check that out.
And even if you don't get the gift card, you can still save $10 every time you use the links, every time.
Yes.
Nothing else to say.
I would say our website is normalizingnonmonogamy.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Cassidy under the screen name NNM Podcast. Also, please reach out to us. We love hearing from listeners, so you can reach out to us on our website using the email function, or you can leave us a voicemail.
Yeah, and also, if you reach out to us, you will get an email back, and it will not be a, auto reply. It's
right.
Actually me or Emma, sending you an email.
Yes.
Other thing, we're going to be at Atlanta Poly Weekend, June 7th to 9th. So come find us, meet us in person, shake our hands, and we'll see you then.
Yes.
Until then, let's go enjoy this interview. Well, then, without further ado, Anne and Brian, do you mind? Well, first of all, welcome to the show.
Yay!
We finally made it happen. We've been kicking for a little while, kicking it.
Chatting.
And finally got a time that works for everybody. So thank you for taking some time out of your afternoon on a Tuesday.
For having us.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here.
Well, it's an honor to have you both. So for anyone who doesn't know you as well as we do, which is not very well, do you mind sharing a little bit about who each of you are?
Do you want to go first?
Sure. I am in my mid-40s. I followed all of the rules throughout my entire life. I went to way too much school. I was in a really long and very safe, boring marriage. And Had a couple kids, got divorced, and then met Brian here. Mm-hmm. And we've been together for 4 years, and we're a Brady Bunch family. And I think our new strategy on life is that for myself anyways, I want to do all the things. I want to try everything. I feel like I'm on the downhill slide in my mid-40s, and I'm just excited to explore all the things I think I've sort of missed out on.
So trying to make this marriage slightly less boring than the last one.
Also, I don't think mid-40s are downward slide. You're...
No, I think that's
not.
Hitting your
that
prime.
Is true. But I think we both sort of have a healthy mindset of, gosh, you know what? We are not in our early 30s anymore, and it's time to do some fun stuff.
Yeah.
So
cool.
And Brian, how about you? Are you going to be as boring? I was a little less of a rule follower, but pretty straight and narrow. Grew up, with a bit of a religious background, infusion. So, there was a lot of shame around anything regarding sexuality. It was just never discussed in our household growing up. And then I was married at 19 and kind of continued that tradition of just not discussing sexuality, not exploring that. Everything outside of missionary position was taboo. And it's not really who I am. And I kind of an exploratory spirit of, challenging the social norms after getting a divorce and seeing that everything, there really isn't anything taboo unless it's taboo for you, which is kind of what we've discovered through our relationship. And I think being in a relationship that, and she doesn't look like she's in her mid 40s. That's the beauty of it all. She looks like she's in her mid 20s, just for the record. And, so the beauty of just having a relationship that is, open to ideas and exploration and supporting each other's wants and needs and questions is really the most dynamic piece of this whole non-monogamy exploration is the conversations, the understanding of one another. And it's allowed us to really dig deep and see each other in a kind of a really cool new way. And honesty and transparency is paramount. So it's really been a fun journey with this one.
Yeah. And are you in your mid 40s as well?
I'm mentally in my, mid 12, 13-year-old, but, physically I am in my mid 40s. Yes.
And so was there a point, was it before you met each other that you both kind of realized like it's time to see all the stuff we haven't seen, or was that a realization you came to as a unit?
For me, it was definitely after having met Brian, and there was something about him kind of socially in our town, which is very small. There was a lot of sort of bad energy around kind of who he was and him sort of publicly in a public eye ending his marriage. And so there was a lot of bad energy around that. And we started dating, and there was something about him that I just couldn't not be with him, despite, the rumor mill and all the things, of none of which was true. And so I think the first thing we did that was really, shall we say, eye-opening was going to Burning Man together.
Wow. That's a fun adventure, I bet.
Ski Mountain in Palm Springs?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it all started at Burning Man.
Yeah, and for me, it was the Burning Man.
It's going to be the title of my book.
Yeah. Yeah. Life through Burning Man.
Yeah.
Burning Man was a couple of years before that, after my marriage ended, I went to Burning Man with a group of friends, and that was really cathartic for me. It was a great, a great experience to just be loved on and free. And, it was really more about kind of processing a long relationship that was very dysfunctional and how I felt about all that. And in being at Burning Man, it's a really open-minded society. And that was my first experience of being amidst a whole city of people that were open to really talk and think and about anything. And that is where I first tasted that, like, there is no shame about what your questions are, or what you're thinking, or what your desires are. It's an open conversation. And
no judgment,
yeah.
No body shaming. Everybody's welcome. Be yourself. It's just the most, yeah.
It was amazing. Yeah. So that really, to take a drink of that right after such a catastrophic situation was really what gave me a lot of hope that, and the kind of marching orders to do it differently, because I could rewrite the script at that point.
And what did that look like in the initial stages for you?
For me, it was nothing crazy. I mean, other than just running around half naked on the playa and not really even turning an eye, because that's what everybody was doing. And it was about exploring, going to different places that were clothing optional and not caring, and really finding freedom in being naked in front of other people. That was like the first step out into the light of the sexual shame tied in with body image shame. And then just, kind of exploring, having friends from Burning Man who had open relationships and experience in that, and kind of the conversations around the social construct of, is the, one man, one woman for life really the end all be all? Is that what we should strive for? Or is it a social construct that maybe doesn't work for everybody? And so it was just kind of, that began the thoughts. There wasn't any big action items that came from that, other than being open to kind of explore. And then the two of us went to Burning Man a couple of years later.
Yeah, so you had gone by yourself without Anne first, and kind of came back, it sounds like, a little bit rejuvenated and a new outlook on life, it sounds like. And then did you have to convince Anne to go with her together?
No, there really was no convincing. We met after that, and, kind of fell in love and walked through a whole bunch of stuff. I was, for the first time in my life, kind of a bad boy reputation in town, which was kind of fun. Never had that moniker. I was always the Boy Scout before that. So no, she really wanted to go, probably more than I did. She likes Burning Man actually more than I do, which is awesome. But yeah, no, we went, and then our first time there, we went to the Orgy Dome at Burning Man, which is a pretty famous place, and had no idea what to expect when we went. And I just, I expected to walk in and just like be accosted by all these, naked, dusty, dirty humans, and was a bit terrified of it. And it ended up being one of the most lovely experiences that I can remember.
We walked in, there's a little separate spot. So there's a place you can go that's kind of open. Everybody is potentially open to strangers touching them with consent, obviously. Then there's a just us section, which means you go in with a partner or a number of partners, and it's just that group that is wanting to be together, but there's other couples or other groups around. And so this is like really our first experience doing anything like this. And it was fun because I could tell right away, like, because I know him so well and who I am. So I put him seated with his back to the wall because I knew he would want to watch. And I was so freaked out to watch. I put him that way so I could face him, so I could just kind of look at him and not be such a voyeur. And then it just started getting hysterical because there were probably 2 or 3 other couples in there. And one of them starts talking about how, like, this is pretty hot and heavy. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, he's like, hey, do you know I played baseball in college? And everybody just starts cracking up. Like,
and the best part was he was sitting there. He makes this comment. We look over. She's giving him a blowjob while he's talking about his college baseball career.
Like,
and I look over. I'm like, that has got to be one of the funniest things
that's ever happened.
It was really brilliant. And then conversation ensued, and we kind of all laughed. And it was just wonderful to sit around and in a sexually charged, in this kind of sacred, intimate space that you share with your spouse, and how we've all built that to we're sitting around, we're having sex with each other and having conversations with these people, and it's all okay and really healing in a way.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
sounds amazing.
We have not been to the orgy dome, but I feel like you got to really be hung up in the glory days to be talking about it during your blowjob. But it sounds like it worked for everybody.
That was his pinnacle, man.
This is all right. However, when I was in college,
let me tell you about my 75-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah. The thing that was on his mind at all is pretty hilarious.
So, you go to Burning Man and you wind up in the orgy dome. Had you had any conversations about anything like that leading up to it, or was it sort of a spur of the moment thing?
I think it was something at Burning Man that that it's almost kind of not a running joke, but I think there was probably some half-hearted kidding about going to the orgy dome, and then we were kind of like, hey, why not? It's one of the few air-conditioned places. We've heard it's clean, and let's just, why not? We're at Burning Man,
but we did talk about it ahead of time that we decided that it was just going to be the two of us. We weren't open to playing with other people at that point.
Yeah.
So that felt safe, like we were both on the same page, and we're just going to go in there and figure out what this is together and
experience it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And since then, how have things evolved?
Yeah, so you came back from Burning Man together, and it sounds like you started having those conversations over the last few years. How did that go?
Yeah, it was good. And that, one of the stories that happened in that Burning Man was an amazing thing that kind of blew my mind into the possibilities that are out there for people. But a group of 6 came in the middle of the Just Us, and it was
5 women
and one guy, cute young 21-year-old guy with these 5 beautiful women. And they asked us if they could watch us. It was that's how they started. If to get the consent to even cast eyes upon the other people, which I was like, wow, that is amazing. This is so honoring. And then, to watch them, to reverse that and say, hey, I quickly said, hey, can we watch you? This is all kind of fascinating. And they said, sure. And they checked in with each other, and everybody asked, and it was great consent. And to kind of watch this group of 6 interact and interchange, and the amount of love that they shared. And it was steamy, but it was also super beautiful and lots of love. And it was those kind of experiences that happened in there that I think kind of just created a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next stop, we kind of, got back into life and kids, and, the conversation just kind of petered out, but, the door was definitely cracked open. And then we went to Palm Springs,
Sea Mountain,
about a year later. And then we love to be naked together in the sunshine is one of our things that we love. So we looked around and we found Sea Mountain in Palm Springs, and we could go be naked there and swim around with other people, and that sounded great. But we hadn't heard the really the term. I'd heard it, but I didn't know what it meant, the term lifestyle.
No, and I hadn't even heard it. We walk in and the cute little girl at the desk is like, oh, this is a lifestyle establishment. You're aware of that? And we're like, oh, yeah, we
sure.
totally know.
We're
oh, yeah.
burners.
We had no idea what she was talking
about. No clue, but we just played it off like we were cool kids. and then just so we go out and we're, we get naked and we're swimming around and there's other couples swimming around. And then I go to the bathroom and this older gentleman, was there with his partner. And he pulled me aside and said, hey, my partner would really like to play with you guys. And I felt like someone was talking to me in Swahili because I just did not understand what that could possibly mean. And I didn't even really know how. The only words that came to mind were, oh, thank you. That's really sweet. And I had nothing else to say because I didn't really know what it meant. And I didn't have the capacity to be like, what you talking about? I came back to Anne and I said, see that gentleman over there? So he has asked for his partner to play with us. And do you know what that means? And what do we do? And neither one of us were like, yeah, we're not even going over to have the conversation. Like, we were terrified of even what that could possibly mean. So that was kind of like, we're like, oh, this is what we're starting to pick that up and
figure out what lifestyle they were talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, we found it wasn't the rich and famous. It was more the open sexual kind.
And then I think last year, leading up to the summer, we got more and more into some personal stuff going on with me and my dad, and my dad was married 7 times, and he was very objectified women quite a bit, and I was an only child, and so I've always had a lot of weird stuff around attention from men. Mm-hmm. Like, it freaks me out. Like, I don't like it. So I've always put this air off that I'm just totally uninterested in men, which is apparently why I never got asked out on dates.
Me, it was just a challenge.
So Brian encouraged me to kind of dig into this a little bit. And so I got online and I started looking for Tantra workers or people that help people like me who really want to be more free, but are coming up against some roadblocks. And I found a guy in just north of us who's a tantric healer, a male. And I said, Brian, we should go do this. And he said, you know what? I actually think you need to go do this by yourself. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? This is bananas. And he actually emailed the guy who we had never met nor gotten any references about and said, I've read your thing. I've listened to your podcasts. I can tell you're amazing. I just want you to know I'm sending her up there. Just fully
gave him my
please
blessing.
Help her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Essentially, that's a nicer way to say it. But I had a really great experience with that. And I think it got us talking more about spirituality and sexuality. And Brian is very interested in, what would you call it? Sexual bodywork concepts and healing through touch and a lot of those kinds of things. And I think that's how we stumbled upon the spiritual swingers, was just kind of Google searching, podcast searching, Tantra, sexuality type stuff. And their podcast came up. Yeah. And we started listening to that and we're like, oh my gosh, there's this whole world out. Now it all makes sense.
Yeah. And that was when I first learned about swingers, that there was actually a thing today and not just something back in the 70s.
Key parties.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess, Anne, do you mind sharing what that experience was like at the Tantra healing session for anybody who's not aware? And
it was really amazing. He has a whole list of podcasts that he's done, and so I could tell that after listening to 10 hours of him talking that he was a safe human, and I really liked him. And so I showed up and kind of told him a little bit about our story, that I feel like I have some pretty major hurdles to get over when it comes to my sexuality, and kind of some thoughts on where that might be coming from and how to move through it, and really wanting to kind of just have more information about myself. And so the first and so then we talked about kind of my goals of being there. And the first half was all kind of, we sat facing one another cross-legged. And it was a lot of like breath work and movement work. And we would put our palms together. And then after I got more comfortable with him, he did kind of this fascinating. He's like, okay, I want you to pretend like I'm your dad, and I am your dad in a restaurant, and I am totally hitting on the waitress. And I want you to push back into me and like, just tell me all the things that makes you feel. So it was really powerful, but I was having a hard time really sort of totally giving myself into it, but it was very helpful. And then the last half was the massage, and he kind of runs through the whole thing. So here's how this goes. And I knew from the beginning that, the Tantra massage can lead to genital touching and penetration. And so I sort of said, I'm not at a place where I'm interested in having my genitals touched, and I'm not wanting to be penetrated. And it's like totally fine. And then he asked me if I wanted him to be fully clothed or totally naked or just with his pants on. So I said, with your pants on would be great, but everything else can come off. And it was just a really beautiful, it's a lot of kind of classic massage work, but then a lot of it is...
And you're naked, right?
Yes. So like when I was on my stomach on the massage table, he would come and lay on top of me. So his stomach's on my back. And he would just grab my hands and hold them for like 30 seconds. And you're just breathing in and out together. So it's very intimate, but yeah, it was a really, really powerful experience.
Was it a full weekend or like a couple days?
No, it was 2 hours.
2 hours? That was it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 2 hours. And I would like to go back. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
Right. Yeah. And so coming off of that, did you feel more, I guess, open and accepting of the things? I guess where were you after that?
Yeah, after that for a few weeks I was pretty what would you say? It's pretty turned inward,
introspective.
I think. Yeah. And over the course of the next few months, well, then we went back to Burning Man, and I think the conversations really started getting going at that point, and we had signed up for Cassidy, and I think I was just feeling more ready to explore it, though I still felt like there were quite a few roadblocks still there.
What were some of those roadblocks for you?
Initially I thought they were going to be around kind of the more classic jealousy type things with, watching Brian with other people in a sensual way. I thought that was really going to be a trigger for me. And it turns out it is actually not. I love it. I'm heavy on the compersion side. I think he is as well. But the major roadblock still for me right now is just we learned the term demisexual, which actually I read The Ethical Slut. I found that word, and my whole outlook has been 180 degree flipped now that I actually understand what's going on. And essentially what that means is that I am unable to feel sensual or sexual. Like it's hard for me or impossible for me to feel turned on or sexually interested in somebody that I don't know. So, for example, if Brian shows me a picture of some hot guy on Cassidy,
which
he did like numerous times, he's like, I am going to find something. I'm going to figure this out. And it was so frustrating for him because I'm like, meh, whatever. And after figuring out the whole demisexual thing, I'm like, that's because I am looking at a freaking grapefruit. Like, yeah, I look at a grapefruit and that's how I feel. I look at a guy on Cassidy without a shirt on and I feel like I'm looking at a grapefruit.
There's no context and no emotion behind it, right?
Exactly.
So our swinging experiences, we have had since Burning Man, we went back to Sea Mountain in Las Vegas about a month ago, and we met a couple there that we did our first soft swap in the playroom, and they were great. But I think there was a little context there because we were able to talk with them first a little bit, and I think we were both just ready to experiment, regardless of.
Well, and I was just excited to kiss a girl because I never had before, and I was like, "This is a thing that's on my bucket list," but it's not. And it was fun, but it wasn't like,
Yeah. Yes, it was fun.
It was fun. Ryan loved it.
Oh. And so this was fairly recent. You said this is only a month ago.
Yeah, in September of this year, a couple months ago. Yeah, and then we came from that experience and then met another couple for dinner, and it was great. They're super sweet and nice and wonderful people. And, at that point, we hadn't figured out this demisexual thing. So I'm like, oh, great, nice, cute people. They want to hang out, want to play. Let's experiment. Because I'm just jump in and try it. And Anne was far more like, I'm just not feeling it. I'm not connecting. And, particularly with the male side. And so, nothing really happened there. And then we met another couple and we did a full swap, I think maybe just to do it. And it was, it was just,
that happened.
It was like, okay, check that off the list, but it wasn't sensual.
But we're not,
it wasn't sexual. It really was more of a, we did it. And then now we've discovered through the ethical slut, this demisexuality. So we're kind of currently recalibrating what all this means and how to move forward so that, particularly Anne gets some fulfillment and, some of the, so that I can have compersion knowing she's really enjoying this and not just doing it.
For you listeners out there, we're a work in progress.
Well, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was curious. So it sounds like you kind of went for the full swap, but it was more just systematic to try it. But it doesn't sound like it was a bad experience. It just didn't really do.
No, it wasn't. The couple was they're so sweet, and it was so just normal, and they sort of felt like family, even though we'd only met them twice. They were just nice, sweet people.
And she kind of took over, and we call that the director's cut. She just kind of started barking orders. Okay, you here, do that. Okay, you over here. This is how this is going to work.
And it was just so funny and easy and safe feeling that it was like, we got nothing else to do tonight. This is actually super entertaining.
Yeah.
Let's just go for it and try it. But it didn't. It sounded like it was. Well, it was a fun experience. It wasn't maybe like the fireworks that you thought it might be.
No,
for either of us, actually, it was pretty much zero fireworks, and it's fine. I mean, it's a funny, great story, which it's half the battle.
Yeah.
And we really like them. It'd be fun to hang out again, kind of socially.
Yeah, but no, definitely no fireworks. Yeah. But I think we're both. Yeah, go ahead.
No, so I'm curious, and maybe you're about to say this, but so you met this couple twice, and it still sounds like for Anne wasn't quite enough yet to feel that attraction. Do you have a sort of an idea of what you're looking for moving forward, and what it is that triggers that attraction that could lead to that for her?
That's a great question. We talked about this a little bit yesterday because we were kind of going through the list of, I hate feeling like I have all these, I don't know, you wouldn't even call them hard nosed because I'm pretty darn open-minded. It's just, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I'm not really sure it's worth jeopardizing kind of my time to be doing things that aren't really generating any sort of energy inside me. So we started going through the list of like, what are the things, what sounds actually fun to you? And I the one scenario I can think of is you have like and it must be the mother in me, but you have like kind of the insecure guy with the super outgoing, flirty girl, and he's super freaked out and she's super outgoing and fun. And I come in and I'm like, okay, so you come over here with me and we're going to snuggle. I'm going to snuggle the shit out of you. And those two are going to have fun and we can watch and everybody's going to be happy. So it's that kind of stuff where there's like no pressure and there's no, I don't like attention. I just want to scoop people up that maybe aren't, I don't know.
And I think that's the safe, like for you. I mean,
super safe.
This is me just kind of, I think, giving my own closet therapist, but like that's the safe piece. But I think what I see is a confident man who is attractive and who treats you, isn't just flirty and isn't just over the top, but actually treats you really well and kind of wins your trust over. I think I see that turning into something that is beautiful and powerful and a sexual satisfaction component. But I also know that scares the stink out of you as well.
Yeah, no, it actually doesn't really anymore.
See, what do I know?
We've talked about like maybe what we need to do is go to parties, because then you are confronted with a whole bunch of different people and there's time and not necessarily any pressure to play, but lots of opportunity to meet and chat with people so that chemistry can kind of build over time. And so that's a work in progress.
Yeah, and it sounds like too that on Brian's side, like your goal isn't just to get her there so you can get yours. It's more that you want her there so you can experience that compersion of seeing her experience the things that she wants to experience.
Yeah, that's 99.9% of it is just figuring out. I mean, that's the scientist in me is want to find the right mix of things that create fireworks for her, and are just mind-blowing. It's like trying to find the greatest gift for your partner. You hunt and you search and you listen and you try and, you're hoping that what she opens under the tree is going to blow her mind. And so far,
unless she's really complicated.
Yeah, but I love the challenge. The challenge accepted. I love it. Yes,
yeah, he is easy. He's easy, and I think that's what's hard for me. That's one of the hard things for me about where we are at right now, is because I do realize that a lot of the slow bus we're on, well, all of the slow bus we're on is because of me. But there's a part of me that's still wanting to, like you talk about the Vegas thing?
Yeah.
So he was in Las Vegas last weekend, 2 weekends ago, and I was out of town. And I'd been gone for a week, and he was starved for touch because he's probably the most tactile human I've ever met. And so he was like, I'm going crazy. I just need a hug or something. And and so he found a woman in Vegas who is a legit tantric massage person. A lot of them pass off as...
There's a lot of searching to find this one.
Yeah. But I was really excited, and it felt really, really good and empowering that I was actually, like, there was not an ounce of concern or jealousy. Like, I was so stoked for him to go try this and see what it was going to be like.
Yeah. And it was amazing.
I would say, how was it?
She was great. She was raised in Israel, and she lived in an ashram in India studying Tantra for 3 years. And I think it was a 4-hour session that was just mutually amazing, because, she said multiple times that she doesn't get many real seekers of knowledge, that most people are coming for, the quick touch, a release, fix, and then on their way. And then, so we had communicated, 4 or 5 times, pretty long, lengthy text and phone calls. And I'm like, I am not interested in any sort of end game here. I really want to learn the practice. And So it was great. She offered just to take me out to coffee and explain it. I said, yeah, I need more than coffee. My partner's been gone for 10 days. I need something stronger than coffee. So yeah, we had this great experience, and she just walked through all the breathing, the clearing, the, engaging the energy from, out of your root chakra. And the cool thing and was the spirituality of the gift of sending that sexual energy up through your chakras to be a gift to the creator, to God. And like, wow, that is beautiful.
To your religious
it does it speaks to me, but it speaks way truer than abstinence and all of the shame around it. I mean, it was a beautiful expression of sexuality. And so yeah, we there was no penetration, but that was definitely open. I just hadn't cleared that with Anne, and I didn't really, it just wasn't right. It just didn't feel right. So we just like mutual touch and rubbing and massaging and eye gazing and lots of lotion, and it was just heaven. I mean, it was literally a heavenly experience, and one I walked away from feeling super empowered and with the opposite of shame. It's just sheer joy, and I couldn't wait to come home and share it, and to feel that I had a partner that was rooting me on was, God, that is the elixir.
Yeah, I think it speaks volumes too that it seems like neither of you, I mean, like, okay, you've technically checked all the boxes, right? You've done a soft swap, you've done a full swap, you've gone to a resort, but you've self-identified as like, you really haven't had any experiences. That's what you've told us a few times leading up to this. But it sounds like you've done enough that there's not really jealousy brewing underneath, and you both just genuinely want what's best for the other person. And I think that,
and I'm sure that in the right, because though we have checked all the boxes, I feel like we still haven't really found what we're looking for. And I think as we start getting closer to whatever that is, I'm fully prepared to deal with jealousy if it comes up, because I think it's been pretty clear to both of us that neither of us have found really what we're looking for yet, aside from one another, which is precious.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably when the jealousy stuff starts to come in, is when you really are like,
when the fireworks hit.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I can say that in our experience that has been tougher. Like when we have found a couple of those instances where there's more fireworks than others, there's definitely more to work through than when there's not.
Yeah, right. Like we're going to Desire in the spring, and you go through all the scenarios of Brian gets just so excited about pretty much everything. I can see him, I can prepare like for the reaction in me when he's just so excited to go chase some woman down the beach or whatever that looks like.
Squirrel.
Yeah, but we'll see. I'm actually not sure it's actually going to be too much of an issue, but
yeah. And on Brian's side, so it sounds like Anne's looking for some deeper connections, and sounds like you're still kind of figuring yourself out as well, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just love women in general. I mean, I think it's easy for me to find beauty in pretty much, and men too. I mean, I think humans are beautiful and they're fascinating, and I think it's just I haven't experienced in this swinger world, or this journey of opening our sexuality up, any fireworks either, that are kind of move me. outside of just loving touch and, exchanging that. And, that feels great. But yeah, no, I haven't found that like, oh, wow, that made, the hairs on my neck stand up. It was so amazing. So,
but maybe you guys can share with us, like we have that so profoundly with each other.
Yeah.
That maybe it's just supposed to be fun
and not
with other people. Maybe you're not supposed to. I mean, what do you guys think about that?
I think it can be both, honestly. I think a lot of it is just fun, just having fun in the moment and finding good people. But there also have been some of our experiences where we've had one or both of us have had a deeper connection with someone that we weren't expecting necessarily. And that is pretty amazing in itself and different to navigate. But I think that, at least in our experience, that's more rare than just the having fun, which that's still fun. It's just a little different. I don't know. Finn, would you
and I think
agree?
I think on top of that is the probability that one of you finds that within a couple and the other person finds it within the same couple is
very low. Very low.
Yeah, that's
very
right. So being prepared for how you want to navigate that, and if it's, if it truly is the compersion thing, like, are you okay having a fun time with with part of the couple so your partner can have a mind-blowing experience? Is that something you're okay with? Or are you okay letting them go by themselves and whatever agreement you come to? So, yeah, I think being open to that possibility, because it's a strong possibility.
Well, that's been our only experience too.
More or less,
yeah.
Yeah, it seems
great.
a challenge.
But that's not to say it's not still fun.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, and not to say that other experiences haven't been fun. So
right.
But there is a difference in our experience when you really have a chemistry or a connection with someone else. It's different to navigate, and it's requires more communication, but it's also really exciting too.
Yeah. Well, and such an amazing thing to be able to actually work through with your primary person.
Right.
So that's when it gets tricky. It's like, oh, I'm actually super hot for that guy right now. And you're like, oh, okay.
I'll take one for the team.
This is uncharted territory.
Yeah, have you two noticed a shift in your relationship even just since you started having these conversations?
100%.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's beautiful and deep. So the depth, I think I honestly don't even care if we ever have another experience. It's mainly the conversations, digging deep into our own, what turns us on and what turns us off and how to navigate that. And, I don't think it would be possible without having jumped into at least the idea of opening into non-monogamy, and what does that mean, and what does it mean for us?
Yeah, and it's, talking with some of my girlfriends, it's, one in particular was sharing how she found out her partner had been watching porn, and it was this big thing, and she wanted to tell him to stop. And it's given me a whole new framework on even just talking with my friends about stuff that used to be my life, right? Well, how about let's flip the script, and what if you thought about it in this way? And the fact that, Brian can come out of a coffee shop and tell me that the barista was hitting on him, and I'm like, oh my God, go back in. I want to watch, to go from this fear-based life to a life of celebrating the awesomeness of your partner is an additional bonus.
Yeah, it allows me to still see you as super sexy and attractive to the world, and dangerous and viable, and that is just hot. Like
maybe not virile, but viable.
Viable. I'm not virile.
No longer virile. Avirile. We're not asexual. We are avirile.
But to your point, like seeing your partner being attractive to other people is super powerful, because it makes you feel like lucky too that they picked you as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, one of the couples that we had we've talked lots and had a couple of dinners with, like, he is just hot for Anne, and it is the cutest thing I have ever seen. I love it. I'm like, you're my guy. Like, we think differently on a lot of issues or something, but just for the very fact that he sees her a little bit like I do, I just feel like, you know what, whatever you need, I got you, because you see my beloved as lovely as I do, and your desire for her is so beautiful. And you're right. It's like finding a guy who likes your car and loves your car. You're like, yeah, you must be a good guy. You've got good taste.
Yeah, no, I think that's a pretty good parallel. And
yeah,
but you don't let everyone drive your car. So
yeah, there's lots of driving.
Yeah.
Have you? It sounds like, Anne, on your side, you've started to maybe have some conversations with friends. Have either of you come out and shared with them what you guys have experienced the last couple of years and the journey you're on?
We have a fairly vanilla friend group in town, and then we have a kind of a more regional Burning Man / other fun event friend group, which is definitely where the most of our significant deep connection is with our friends. And we have been known to have the 20-person snuggle fest and the naked coconut oil body rubs, which have been 100% platonic. Everybody's been monogamous.
Still hot.
Still hot. But anybody from the outside world will look at this group and be like, oh my God, they have orgies all the time. It just must be the way it is, which actually is not the case. It's just a very loving group. Well, in the last 6 months, I think we're the third couple in that group that has started opening up.
Uh-huh.
So it's actually been really fun having people at the same stage in the journey, but doing it in different ways. We have a couple friends that are more poly, and who knows, that may be what we are. We just don't really know yet. And then we have another couple that's kind of not really sure,
open.
Sort of poly open.
Yeah.
So it's been fun. So they know that we're kind of in the experiment with them as well. But other than that,
yeah, and not with them. There's definitely within the friend group.
What's the T-shirt?
Yeah, something like "Don't fuck your friends" or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Like there's like a spoken unspoken rule about not
DFYF.
Yeah.
Don't fuck your friends.
Don't fuck your friends.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, it's okay though, because it gives you those sounding boards and the confidant sort of couples that you can work with and talk with.
Yeah, and it's just funny. Like, one of my girlfriends sent me a note the other day, and she's like,
"Vanilla friend?"
No,
oh.
One of the gals in the couples that's opening up, and she is very much like me historically, like very sort of fearful of men and sexuality and all that. And the doors have come open on their relationship, and she sent me the text. She's like, I can't stop flirting. Like, I would love to chat with you because I can't stop, and I'm afraid that I'm actually gonna like send people the wrong message. But it's like the switch got turned on, and she can't stop. Everywhere she goes, she's just loving everybody. Just not in a sexual way, but just so it's fun just to be able to share, like, oh my God, this happened, and to be able to laugh about it and understand it.
Yeah. That's cool. That's awesome that you have that support network too. That's outside of your, I guess, what you might have otherwise, in your local area.
Yeah. Well, I think what we've enjoyed most out of all of this is Brian is definitely the social ambassador of our coupleness.
Uh-huh.
but just the friendships we've made. I mean, the kicks with you guys and the random funny Cassidy email exchanges, and just the breadth and the depth and the openness of people essentially just not taking themselves too seriously is so refreshing and fun.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I think that's something we can relate to.
Definitely. And you alluded to the fact too that you both have children. Have they said anything or noticed any change in you two at all throughout this journey?
I don't know if they've noticed any changes. They're definitely, hopefully not out. If we're out, we don't know it.
No, they would have said something.
Yeah. But I think, I don't know. I don't know how they see us. I think they think we're awesome because they all want to live here and all the time. And, so nothing has been spoken, but I do get this sense that they see us living more vibrantly than maybe other parents kind of just.
Yeah. And I think we do a lot of crazy stuff that,
like Burning Man.
Like Burning Man.
And like all these other festivals that we often go to, and we have big giant party campouts in the backyard, and we're doing really fun festive stuff that I think for kids is really important, especially when all of our kids are, I say this, but they're actually all very good kids. And if anything, not that I'm encouraging this, but they could use a little boundary pushing.
Yeah, like the confession of one of our kids was, I just got a C on my Spanish test. Like that was a big
Yeah, and then he's like, but it's okay, I still have an A in the class. I'm like, oh my God, you guys.
Okay. You guys really living hard.
So what I appreciate most about where we're at is that I think what they're learning is that you can have parents that do pretty wild stuff that maybe your friends' parents kind of roll their eyes or look aghast about. But then they see us still loving them and still loving each other and still running a household and going to work. And so I think it's giving them a sense of balance, that just because you're doing something that your friends or your friends' parents think is deviant, if you're having fun, if you're not hurting anyone, it's all good.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily have to die after you have a family, and you don't have to, your soul doesn't have to die. You can still thrive and live and play and have fun. And
that was something I was curious about. It we've talked to people who have shared with us the struggle they have with, after they have kids and their kids become their priority to the point where it's really hard to shut off, the mom brain or the dad brain and refocus on themselves. And have either of you struggled with that, or has it largely been fairly graceful?
No, I definitely struggle with that. In particular, and that's one of the things Brian and I have had to talk about and kind of establish. Okay, so you are actually the social ambassador. Just keep me in the loop if something comes up, or because I get so overwhelmed by the amount of communication when you're on Cassidy and all the things are happening, and I'm, trying to get to work or make dinner or deal with homework, and he interprets that as me not being interested. So then he gets worried that maybe he's pushing too hard. Mm-hmm. And we definitely did. And I think it might've been one of your podcasts even, where I was like, this is it. This is what's happening. I think it's much more difficult for women to transition from mom world to sexy world or fun world even.
Because dads are always sexy.
Dad bod, right? You got dad bod, you're fine.
And there's my friend, Brian.
Yeah, no, it's definitely harder for her to shift. And it's, a lot of times I need to take that into account and give her the space, hire a house cleaner on a day before we're going to go do something sexy, and make sure that she has time to shift gears and try and give her the runway to do that is super important. I think, because it's definitely easier. I mean, I think for men, particularly myself, to just, flip a switch and be like, yes, like let's go. And, but I think it definitely takes a little bit of shifting in time and intention for her to move into that.
Yeah, and it's just like the amount of fog that goes through my brain, like on a typical evening when Brian's like, hey, did you see that Cassidy email? And I got a kid saying, hey, we don't have any bagels for breakfast tomorrow. And I'm like, oh my, you people, like all of you people are making me insane. I'm just going to go sit in the closet. So it's definitely, yeah. But it all depends on where I'm at and where we're at. And most of the time it's just fine. But there are definitely times the struggle is real.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's pretty normal though.
Yeah. Yes, and it's been validating to hear that, actually.
Yeah.
And it's something that we have struggled with, and we don't even have kids. So
yeah, exactly.
There's always a little bit of an imbalance, and finding ways to navigate that imbalance is an ongoing puzzle.
And finding balance in life overall.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to Desire, to where you're kind of on vacation. There's no ramp up. There's no mom brain. We're just to be present. I'm sure that's one of the beauties of just getting out of Dodge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because there's no distraction. It seems like, lots of distractions.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll be chasing Brian down the beach as he chases somebody else down the beach.
Wait, she's not a part of the resort. You got to make sure they have the armband on before you go chasing them down the beach.
Awesome.
I'll get him a shot collar.
Yeah, that'll be an amazing trip for both of you, I'm sure. Hopefully you can just relax and take in everything that Desire has to offer.
Yes, for sure.
And maybe I think that might be a great place to leave it, because it leaves us that cliffhanger so we can have you back on.
You say that to everyone.
Yeah, well, it's called filling the funnel. The sales funnel.
I know.
I love it. We would be honored.
Yeah, just have your agent check with ours.
Yeah. He's on vacation in January and February, and also right now in March. And
for the foreseeable future.
Pretty much. Permavay.
But yeah, no, for sure. And we want to say thank you for everything, because I think even though you haven't had a ton of experience, you have had some experience, and you had a lot of awesome insights.
Yeah, you've had a lot of conversations too that are, I think, helpful for people to hear.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Well, and thanks for all your work. It's been super helpful, particularly for Anne, to just be able to devour podcast after podcast and process kind of her journey through that. It's been great. Really appreciate your effort and time. And I'm sure, the financial rewards are just so overwhelming, and that's what you do it for.
Oh, but definitely. Yeah.
If that's not the only reason, I do just want to thank you for your time.
No, and that's how we were able to send our agent on paid vacation for the next year.
Permanent.
I totally
Permanent
get
paid vacation.
Yeah. Let me know if you're taking applications.
But truthfully, that really means a lot. And thank you for saying that. And that's, we want to just put good out there and tell people stories and share that this is all just normal, and it's okay to be questioning things or figuring things out and make mistakes and have fun along the way. And that's what we're really striving for. So thank you.
You guys are doing an amazing job.
You're killing it. Yeah. We are so grateful.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And thank you for adding one more awesome story. And we can't wait to have you back on to hear
how Desire goes.
Yeah.
Sequel.
The sequel.
Brian and Ann, part 2.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, until then, we will let you go do whatever it is you need to do this evening. Get some bagels and whatever else.
Check the Cassie emails.
Check your Cassie.
That's right.
That's my job.
And let you have a wonderful evening.
All right.
Thank
Cheers,
you.
guys. Thank you.
Bye. It's us again.
I thought they were going to be surprised it was somebody else.
We should have someone end our show sometime just to see how many people listen this far.
Yeah. If we knew anybody in this country, we could do that.
That's not true. We know a few people.
So, welcome back. Thank you to Anne and Brian for everything. Amazing couple. Mm-hmm. Super excited to see where they take things and have them back on someday, because that's how we do.
Yes.
What are you going to say?
I was going to first say, if you're curious about sometimes what our guests look like, I have been putting photos for those guests that choose to send us a photo on our website for each episode. So go check those out.
While you're there, there's some links that you should check out. One of them. Actually, you know what? Neither of these are paid affiliates of the show of any sort. They're just things that we love and wanted to tell you about. The first one, Scott's Cheap Flights. I'm not even going to tell you more about it. It's pretty self-explanatory. Yes. It's awesome. Go look it up and save yourself literally hundreds of dollars. And
on flights.
Just do it. The other one, My One Condoms. Custom fit condoms for all your penis sizes.
That could be their tagline.
It should be if it's not.
You can save 10% on your order by using the code Emma.
Emma. She sounds hot. And if you want to see her hotness in person, she'll be at Atlanta Poly Weekend, June 7th and 9th.
2019.
With her husband, Finn.
Way to plug yourself, too.
So, next week, what do we got? We got...
Ginger and the Prof.
Of Life on the Swing Set fame. This one's a doozy.
It is.
We didn't actually have to do anything. We just said hello, and then they talked for an hour and a half, and then we said goodbye.
Yeah, pretty much.
So,
but they are very insightful and have a lot of fun things to say.
Fun things?
Amazing things. I don't know. It's a great interview, but they have to wait till next week to hear it.
All right. Well, we will see them in 1 week. Yeah?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.